Mabuhay, Kamusika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. I married a Filipina, and she was almost 10,000 flight miles away. I didn't want to go more than 50 miles to look for somebody originally because I thought, as busy as I am working 6 days a week, I need somebody. I don't want to waste my time driving back and forth. So the thought of international dating absolutely never occurred to me. And Philippines is so far away, but it's really so close too. Now, some of you guys have not used a webcam, and you're going to have to be able to do that to communicate with somebody. Skype and Viber, there's Facebook webcams, other apps that enable you to communicate face to face and also see her surroundings. And hopefully some of it is her home, so her family can see who she's talking to. Hopefully they know some English and they can tell what you're kind of like, and you can get to know them, they can get to know you. Maybe you can talk a little bit with them, and that's a great thing too. With the time zone, it's actually, at least here in the United States, very easy to spend a lot of time on webcam with a Filipina. We spend about 4 hours a day, maybe an hour before work and 3 hours or so after work, made up with even more on the weekend. And I felt like that was plenty of time to get to know each other. I could look at her face to face, and the webcam helped with being able to judge her mood and her emotions. People say, well, if you're not together, how do you really know what they're like? Well, the best you can do on the webcam, watch her responses to your questions, ask her questions that are important to you, and see how she responds. I mean, if she's a pleasant person, positive person, you're going to see this in her words and her body language, her moods. If she's moody, all of this you can see on webcam. So it's almost like they're right there with you. You just have to tell yourself it's like she's right there with you. Now, we had some problems with text messaging. My wife's English is good, but for some reason we got into a period of time where we weren't quite understanding each other well, and it was always through texting that I realized, why are we always arguing when we end up texting? Because something she says sounds like she's really upset, and maybe she's not, or we just misunderstand each other. Like she asked me once, are you still communicating with other women? I said, I had communicated with 5, and I meant I wasn't, but I was in the past, had communicated with 5 other women. She took that to mean that I still was, and that almost ended our relationship. I couldn't figure out what was wrong until I went back and read that. And then I thought, oh boy, I wonder if this is what threw her off. Well, we were just getting to know each other and trust each other at that time. So I made the decision, no more texting. We just need to do webcamming because we just don't have problems there. Now, one advantage and one reason you really should also use like Viber or Skype, you can type messages on there, and they can be used for your petition. You only need about 5 pages of good text communication. You don't need a whole phone book to send to immigration. At least that's what my agent kept telling me. I don't need all this stuff. You have too much information. And my wife was able to compile all of our Skype chats and Viber chats. It's got the date, it's got who's talking. So what I did with that is I tried to pick out pertinent places in our communication, like when we started getting serious, or when I proposed to her, when she said yes, when we were talking about marriage, or me going down to see her, or so on. And so you need that information for your petition. If you communicate with email, you can use that too. But the best way to get to know her is get that webcam and realize, just don't be intimidated by the distance. Just don't even think about it. If she's 6,000 miles away or 600 miles away, you're not going to be able to spend much time with her in person. So you got eyes, you can see what she looks like, you can see how she acts. So don't be intimidated about the fact that she's so far away. Now, I saw my wife so much on camera before we got married, before I went down there to meet her, and marry her, that I was completely comfortable going to meet her. We hadn't met in person yet, but I never felt uncomfortable. I felt like, we'd been together for a long time. And that was probably because we communicated so much face to face on webcam. So unless you're willing to, and able to travel many times to the Philippines, you can adequately get to know someone, your marriage prospect, on screen. So again, pay attention to body language, ask important questions, try to communicate with some of her family members if that's at all possible. So she may be way far away from you, but the distance does not have to be a negative in finding your love beyond the sea.